Welcome to the Living Force Podcast.
Felt a great disturbance in the Force.
A Utini production.
Hope we don't have a burnout.
Episode 22, Conversations with Friends of the Force.
Oh, it's beautiful.
In this episode, the Utini team talks with special guest Brad Whipple from Friends of the Force podcast.
I feel the Force.
Also, we play Rate the Star Wars Relationship.
What do you think? Do you think a princess and a guy like me?
No.
And now, here are your hosts.
I am the Senate.
Dr. Corey Helton, Eric Eilerson, and Dr. Charles Hankel.
So it's just kind of like reshoots. It's like when JJ is going back and the whole internet's freaking out. But it's actually going to make it better.
It is like reshoots.
This is our Rogue One moment.
I saw this week. It is. I saw this week that they're doing some reshoots of Rise of Skywalker, maybe. That seems crazy. It seems super late, but...
I don't know. I mean, I feel like people freak out about reshoots all the time. They're like, oh my god, does that mean the movie isn't a thing? And it's like, no, they were probably editing and they found that in one shot a guy was too far left. Like, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
You know? Unless it's Rogue One where it's like, no, they changed literally the entire movie.
Did they, though?
Yeah, I mean, remember in the trailer, they had Jyn and Cassian running on the beach with the plans in hand. Like, I want to know what that ending was.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true.
And, like, the infamous trailer shot of the TIE Fighter. Yeah, with Jyn up on the walkway.
Fine. That didn't make any sense either. Why would a TIE Fighter pilot just, like, stop what he's doing to go and hover and look at, like, in the middle of dogfighting all around?
Because it looks cool, Corey, that's why.
Well, here's the question, guys.
I am...
If you were offered a special edition Rogue One DVD or Blu-ray, and they said, hey, it has the original cut on it and bonus features, how much would you pay for that? What's like the top dollar you would pay to be like, no, here's the original ending of Rogue One. It's the only place you can
Is it only for me? Is it only for me to
no,
see?
it's like,
no one
no,
else
it's
can
like
see it?
they're wide releasing it, but like...
Okay.
I would probably sell like a non-vital organ.
Yeah. Ooh, okay.
I don't know that I don't know that I would do that. I mean, it depends. Like if this was like a you know, my buddy KK calls me up and's like, "Hey, this is only for you. No one else can see it. How much will you pay for it?" I don't know. $1,000 maybe.
Yeah. All right, that's fair.
Maybe $2,000 or $3,000 maybe. Like I can't disseminate it. No one else is allowed to see it except for I show it to my closest friends.
Yeah.
Maybe $2,000. My wife would kill me if I spent even inkling of that. But still,
man, I was thinking like Best Buy only has it for like a week, and it's $70 for like a Blu-ray Steelbox or something like that. Ray agrees with us.
Apparently. Apparently.
So I
my dog Ray, everyone.
Yeah, so I might pay $70 for that. But you know what I wouldn't pay $70 for?
My tricks gonna work on me. Only money.
Episode 22 of the Living Force Podcast. Welcome, everyone, to our latest episode of this fantastic hour of talking. I am one of your hosts, Eric Eilerson, and with me, as always, fresh off, like, days off and healthy sleep, are the doctors. First of all, Dr. Corey Helton, welcome.
The doctors, welcome to me.
Yes, indeed, that is what I said. Oh, man, maybe you should stay up a little later.
I am the Senate.
And also, Dr. Charles Hankel. Welcome to you.
I would also like to welcome Corey because he's clearly the most important person here.
Oh my god.
How much rum is in this drink?
And staring off in abject horror at the mistake he has made is the Friend of the Force podcast host himself, Brad Whipple. Welcome, my friend.
Hello.
Oh,
you know, it hasn't
God.
been a Friend of the Force today is my goddamn computer. But we got through it. And, you know,
Yep.
I'm just happy
okay.
to be here. Happy that the waves on the Audacity are going up and down. It means it's getting recorded.
That's great.
Things are going well, though. Thanks for having me on, you guys.
Brad, you know, it really was our fault because we didn't tell you what happens when you mention the novel Queen's Shadow on the Living Force. Everything just shuts down, and we lose it all.
Technology loses it. But we are so glad to have you. Everyone, if you're listening to this episode, honestly, when you clicked on it, you saw that the title of the episode is like Friends of the Force collaboration, so this is not a surprise. But if you haven't been listening to Friends of the Force, which is Brad's podcast, you gotta fix that, because it is an incredible show. Brad has a ton of awesome guests, and just promotes all the positivity that we try to strive for here on The Living Force. all throughout the Star Wars fandom, and we are going to get into all about that.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Ah.
It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be great, man. Again, this is our...
And I swear, it really is me.
You know,
This is not a deep fake voice. This is truly me on the podcast.
I was worried. Because, those deep fakes in the Star Wars podcasting community are just spreading like wildfire.
I know.
I mean, not everyone can book Harrison Ford. We can't believe it.
Yeah.
But for our listeners, as I said, if you don't know Brad, I want to list a few guests, Brad, that you have had on Friends of the Force.
Sure.
Because Friends of the Force, how would you pitch Friends of the Force before I go through this amazing list? What is that show?
So I would pitch Friends of the Force. It's a Star Wars talk show. So it is podcast. It is it's on Google, Apple, all that stuff. But it's more of like a talk show. So if I had like a TBS show for an hour, that's what it would be. I would have guests come on, talk about a topic, interview them, that sort of thing. So we have two shoes. I do have two shoes on, but two shows every week. One of which on Monday is the main show where we dive into a topic, and then Thursday is entirely about the guests themselves. So I interview them about their Star Wars experience, how it's affected their lives on a personal level. So we're not just talking about speculation and like hot topics in Star Wars. It's like, what does it mean to you? And let's dive into that. That's the important part. So
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. I love it, man.
Yeah, that's the From a Certain Point of View series, and I was lucky enough to be on that show with you a couple weeks ago.
were.
And man, it was so much fun.
Yeah,
because like you're saying, you kind of just let the guests kind of drive what their journey was, and I discovered stuff about my Star Wars past I hadn't even thought about as we were talking.
Yeah,
so it was so much fun. It was super intimate too, in a way that was super welcoming, and you really get to learn a lot about the people in the Star Wars community through that show.
Yeah, and what's nice, what I like doing about it is I think it differentiates a little bit from most Star Wars interview podcasts, because I feel like a lot of them tend to just say like, hey, let's talk about Reylo, or let's talk about like X, Y, and Z in Star Wars, but this is more of like how has Star Wars shaped your career in acting, or like career in writing, and like let's dive into that. So it's a little different. It's more intimate, as you said, which is what I'm kind of going for.
Yeah, and you've had some amazing guests on there, man. Like, so just to list a few, because I did go through your feed. I've written some down. You have had, to name a couple, the Sky Talkers, most recently, which was a fantastic episode.
Yeah, they were fun.
People from, the host from Girls with Sabers, the host from Scarif Scuttlebutt, the guys from Bombad Cast, our friends from Force Toast, the host of Geeky Bubble and Wookiee Gunner, Lipstick and Lightsabers, Postcards from the Galaxy's Edge, Around the Galaxy, and a great voice in the Star Wars Twitter community, Alderanian Rose, who was on the Alphabet Squadron with me, episode with me that we did, and more. Like,
thanks for not naming Eric Eilerson in that list.
Illustrious Living Force podcast host, Utini content manager, editor-in-chief, review writer extraordinaire Eric Eilerson was also on the show. So
is that all on your business card, or just some of it?
It's very small writing, Charles.
No, it just in just very large text right under his name. It just says douchebag.
That's implied when you meet.
I actually got a hit on that show for copyright infringement because somebody noticed that we were a Michigan State graduate, so they just told me I had to take it down. So I might be deleting it soon.
Oh. Because it was too impressive? Was that it?
No.
Was that it? Because Michigan State is
too embarrassing.
If you could call a field goal and a touchdown against Arizona State impressive, then sure.
So here's the thing, listeners. Here's what you might not know. So Brad went to the University of Michigan, which is a college in Michigan.
It's a 4-year college,
Michigan
too.
State University. Yep. Great. Awesome. I went to Michigan State University, who is the hated rival of that school. And if you've listened to me and Brad's show, we like to rip on each other about the schools. It is college football season right now, so I do enjoy every Saturday DMing with Brad about our respective woes as both of our teams kind of make it through. It's been a weird year for college football. Sorry, this is the sports section of this podcast. I swear we'll hit Star Wars in a second, guys. But yesterday, as Brad just alluded to, was an especially terrible day for Michigan State football as we're recording. We got beaten by Arizona State. And we deserved it. And we were terrible. And Brad was there to just look at me as I cried and just laugh at my tears.
I'm just glad to have somebody else on the show to put Eric in his place. So.
If you
too
can
much
think
power.
of what happened to Michigan State, just to bring it back to Star Wars, think of when the Death Star fired on Scarif and just completely demolished the top of the radio tower with Krennic on it. And Krennic is Michigan State, so yeah.
Yep, and we're just watching, like, you know what's happening, and you're like, no, I did everything right. This shouldn't be happening to me. And yet you're watching your death approach. Like, that's what happened.
But yeah.
But aside from the collegiate rivalry aspects of our friendship, Brad, as we've said, is a huge force of positivity in Star Wars. And last episode, listeners, you may remember, me and Corey and Charles, we talked a bit about positivity in this fandom because it's been a bit of an issue lately. It's been kind of a problem with people harassing people online. If you want to hear our in-depth thoughts about all that, check out our last episode on this feed. We talked a lot about Mar and about her issues and about people kind of grandstanding and gatekeeping. But Brad, I wanted to throw this to you real quick because you really do advocate, both on Twitter and in your show, about positivity kind of above all. And I find that super admirable and super endearing. And I kind of just wanted to give you the floor to ask you, why is that so important? Because it kind of does seem like the foundation on which Friends of the Force is built is positivity. And that seems natural, but I think you could go in areas like asking people about controversy and asking people about, okay, what do you not like about Star Wars, though? Why do you continuously stride for that positive angle?
Yeah, so I got into the podcasting once I got into Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, and I realized, like, wow, all of the hate that I had heard about, like, post Last Jedi was, like, not really, it was just kind of like in an echo chamber. It wasn't real, almost. And I realized that there were a lot of positive voices out there, and I just wanted to create a place basically where we could bring those people together. So, like, whether you're a listener or you're just a Star Wars fan or you're a fan of the show or a fan of other people's podcasts that are coming on my show, like, it can be one single place that we kind of all come together. And, you know, it's like you said, Star Wars is something you have to look at and say, you know, there are things you might not like about Star Wars, but the important thing is that you treat people with respect, however you're phrasing what you don't like, and then you're not gatekeeping, and then you're not advocating against things like inclusion and diversity and all that. So that's the kind of stuff we really strive for on the show, is to just gush about Star Wars. Life's too short to be negative and complain about things. And sure, is Canto Bight not my favorite thing? No, but there's a lot of good things to pull from it, and that's what I like to bring people on about and, like, get new perspectives and maybe change people's minds who didn't like The Last Jedi. I love The Last Jedi, and I'll take that to my grave. But I think it's important to make sure that we're being positive and creating an environment where people can go to get away from the hate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Brad, I have a question on the back of that that's not in Eric's in his little outline for the episode, but
oh man, going rogue on me? All right, let's see
I'm
what
going
happens.
rogue already, man. We're like 7 minutes into this. But there's this popular term, right, that people are like, who are positive about everything that's coming out right now, are Disney shills, right?
I'm one of them.
And obviously
I'm a shill.
Yeah, but we
shill here.
Yep.
We joke about this, but I want to hear, I guess, your honest thoughts on what do you think when people equate, like, just wanting to stay positive about everything that's coming out to being a Disney shill? Like, what is your typical rebuttal, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I see that so much, and I actually saw a tweet from somebody in the community who I thought was kind of more on the positive side of things, but I had seen it and I was like, wow. And they were saying, they mentioned the phrase mindlessly loving content or something. And to me, that was like kind of a subtweet to say, if you like the sequel trilogy, you mindlessly love anything that Disney puts out. That it seemed like a subtweet.
It always is. No one's subtweeting that about the OT. Like they're right. Sorry. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and it's like,
yes,
so people say, like, oh, the original trilogy, you just can't beat it. That's also kind of mindlessly loving that in a way, if you're, just to play devil's advocate. So I think the whole concept of, like, if you're positive and you're trying to find the good in things, you're a shill. I definitely don't agree with that at all. I just think that speaks to people's character to say, yeah, sure, there might not be, like, everything's not, like, perfect in Star Wars, but to just find the places that are positive and make you happy and make you love Star Wars even more and celebrate that stuff, I think that's important. And yeah, I think the Disney shill thing in particular really bugs me. in the whole mindlessly loving
Yeah.
content. Like anything that gets thrown at you, just mindlessly love it. It's like, that's not true. I just want to be happy. I just want to enjoy it.
Right, and I think it's so funny where people will mock people for things that make them happy. You know, like even going all the way back to the '80s, where people were like, "Oh, you like the Ewoks? Like really?" And the line I always love is, "You only like it because they make toys out of it." And I said, "Wait, so I can buy something physically, put it in my home, and it will bring me joy whenever I see it, and you will mock me?
Yeah.
Like, it's my house."
Oh, gosh,
Like this,
I just don't
it makes
I
no
don't understand.
sense.
I just don't understand what people are seeking when they do this. Like, what is the psychological phenomenon behind gatekeeping? Is it because it makes people feel big and powerful and like they know something that everybody else doesn't know? I mean, is it as simple as that? Because that's so stupid.
I honestly,
I mean,
like,
maybe.
I on like a deeper level, I really do think it boils down to a lot of the like worst parts of like society, like racism and misogyny and homophobia. Like, I think it really does boil down to like a lot of people who have some of those qualities, and then they portray that onto Star Wars and say, no, it needs to be like this and that, and you know, so Disney is social justice warrior, like all that stuff. And they project it on this film, and then they try to gatekeep because of it. So it's kind of like those people almost bring their own like political or social views into Star Wars.
Yeah, but I don't know that I can comfortably say that like everybody that has a negative opinion falls into one of those categories.
No, I don't
because,
mean
like,
that.
At the same time, I think you hit the nail on the head though when you said like we're bringing out the worst part of society, because like there's just something inherently human, I think, about this weird hierarchy of knowledge and power, and I just don't understand though still like why you can say that you're as passionate as we are about Star Wars and like certain aspects, and it's wrong to like other aspects when like if you identify as a Star Wars fan, you're already in the category. I don't understand
Right.
what you have to gain by saying that, like, yeah, well, this little tiny fragment over here, this is crap, and we all have to universally agree that it's crap. Otherwise, you're not a real fan. I just don't. Why?
Yeah. It's everyone that draws these lines in the sand that aren't even there, and we all hate sand anyways, right? So like,
Of course, and it's irritating. It's everywhere.
I've been using the phrase "the hill you die on" a lot lately. I love that phrase.
Or stand.
I really
I
like
like
that
stand a
phrase
lot.
because, yeah, it's just like why? Like, why do you want to? Why is this the hill you want to die on? Like, this is the thing you're going to draw the line in the sand on. It's like the Ewoks, or it's the Reylos, or it's Ben's lightsaber. Remember when everybody was mad about Ben's lightsaber back in the day?
Yeah,
Like,
the crossguard
why?
wouldn't work. Like,
I mean, people
geez,
people are also mad that John Boyega was a black stormtrooper. like that happened, you
right,
know?
right.
And again, that's
Right.
kind of why I brought up the racism thing. I'm not saying like everybody
Mm-hmm.
who is negative, and that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Like, I think everybody who doesn't like the sequel trilogy or whatever is one of those categories. But you see, like, the most hateful people often do fit
absolutely.
into that. Like, especially people who like attack
That's absolutely
Reylos
true.
or attack women in fandom. If you're attacking a woman in fandom, I'm
100%.
sorry, you're a misogynist. Like, that's just a fact.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're a piece of shit.
Like,
Let's
I
not
will
even-
say that. Like, that's just like there's no
Yes.
ifs, ands, or buts.
I 100%.
yeah, and like, how did like let's say Kelly Marie Tran got bullied off of everything, but somehow like other people didn't.
Yikes.
What is
What is it
different
about
about
that?
Kelly Marie Tran?
It's because she's
What
short,
could it
Eric.
be?
Everybody hates
Ah,
short
yes,
people.
right.
You know that. No,
Well,
I
I
totally agree. And the
Yeah.
the sort of, I'm really glad that Disney has not really bowed to that demand at all
Yeah.
either. And I'm really glad that Disney is such a forward-thinking company, because
Yes.
the women that we've gotten in Star Wars have been amazing, right? And that's why
Yes.
that's why my wife watches Star Wars with me and really likes
Yeah.
it, right? Is one of the
Absolutely.
many reasons is because she can identify with it more so than she used to could. And you know, Carrie Fisher is an amazing person and an amazing human being, and did an amazing job in Star Wars. But even she talked about how sexist it was back in the day. Like have you guys ever listened to the roast of George Lucas that
Yes,
she did?
yeah.
Yeah. So it's really great. I mean, she calls him out for like what, do they not have bras in space or something?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have
Yeah.
to. Yeah. So it's just
Couldn't
like
wear underwear and all that stuff.
we're in a new place, and you know, I know that we've kind of talked about this a lot on the show, and we've kind of gotten some heat on Twitter and stuff. I think about like talking about like our political thoughts. I don't even think we're being political at this
No.
point. I mean, we're just. I mean,
No.
honestly, the UTE team.
That's a word to use when you're being called out for your behavior and you don't want to be. You just call it over politicizing.
Yeah.
Right.
And like
So-
not being a gatekeeper, like that's none of this is like a political issue. It's like just be a human being
No.
and be nice and don't like, attack other groups of people because they are a certain
Right.
way, like
right.
or a certain
Yep.
gender
Yep.
or a certain,
Right.
so like
Anything.
that's really end of the day. It's not a political.
It's a humanism
Right.
issue.
You can be a
Yeah.
conservative, a moderate, libertarian, any of those things
Yeah.
without being a jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like
Exactly.
I have plenty of friends, myself included, most of the time that sort of falls under that category. I think, and it's just I
be a
don't
human.
understand why Star Wars fans can be douchey, but
Yeah.
I
But I'll tell
appreciate.
you what, I am gonna say they don't deserve any more of our airtime on this podcast. I am glad we're all on the same page.
We
and
are.
I love what we're all trying to do. Brad, I love what you're trying
Thanks.
to do. And now I am going to take my executive power
Uh-oh.
and shift this narrative of this podcast away from these assholes over to some really cool positivity questions. Now, Brad, question for you because you're the guest and you're going to be in the hot seat all
boy.
day.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to ask you a question because
I
so
plead
you're
the
you're
fifth?
a relatively you absolutely not there's no constitution here, my friend. Corey is the Senate, as he said. No, you said that, I just gonna say you're pretty new in the podcasting scene, as we are. Like, we kind of came the post-celebration wave of people that hit that positivity. Corey's talked about it a bunch on this podcast as well. So, as kind of a relatively new podcaster, how has Friends of the Force changed your day-to-day life? What has it added to it, and what has it changed about the way you look at Star Wars?
So, I mean, day-to-day life, podcasting is no joke. Like, when I first started, I was like, oh, this will be like a fun thing to do on a Monday night.
We should print that on T-shirts, Brad, and sell it. Podcasting ain't no joke.
Little did I know I would be thinking about it in the waking hours of work and on my lunch break. As soon as I get home, I'm, making new art for the podcast, like for the title cards and everything, and like recording episodes and editing episodes. And like every episode I listen to, I have to listen to the full thing to edit it, plus all the pausing and the splicing and everything. So it's definitely a time commitment. It is like a part-time job, but it's been amazing because, a lot of things. Being in fandom is really nice because you start to kind of grasp a lot of different communities in fandom, like Reylo community. I didn't really know there was like a Reylo community until I started doing this, but like I definitely was
no
a
idea.
Reylo. I just didn't really like know that was a label for it. So starting to get more into that and like seeing how people appreciate Star Wars in so many different ways, it like helped to, parts of the movies I didn't think had like a ton of value. I'm like, wow, that's like really cool now that I think about it in that way. So just getting to talk to other people
absolutely.
and like get their opinion on it, and that really does help shape how you. It shapes how you might look differently at Star Wars, like moving forward, and just gets me even more excited for the Rise of Skywalker
Yeah.
because the conversation for me just wasn't there in my daily life before. I didn't know enough Star Wars fans to chat with, and now it's like constantly chatting about it on Twitter
Yeah.
threads and DMs and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are so many perspectives
Yeah.
on it. Like it's just amazing. Like it's easy to say that it's just a group of films, but there's just so many various lenses in which to look through to like get something else out of it. I love that about the Star Wars community.
Yeah.
Is that everybody can
Yeah.
see something that I can't see, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question. I think because that's one of the cool things about, like I know Corey, you and me especially are from really small towns, and then you go off to college and you meet people that you've never thought about. Like,
Yeah.
whoa, you're from where? You think what? And it kind of blows up in your mind. And Star Wars Twitter and Star Wars podcasting, I think, has done that for so many people. Of like, I've talked about Star Wars with my friends from like high school and college now and then, but being in this broader universe thing, Brad, you nailed it. It's learning about, oh, this is important to you. So now when I rewatch these movies, I see someone else's point of view and it pops out to me and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God, no, I love this. You're so right. I never thought about this, and our mutual enjoyment just gets to grow and grow and grow, and it's so cool.
Yeah, and if you kind of
Yeah.
subject yourself just to like your local community, even talking about Star Wars with your friends, you're not going to like expand the way you think about it, because yeah, they are just movies at the end of the day, but like, wouldn't it be so much more exciting if you took the movie that you really like and just explored it on a really, really analytical, like metaphysical level of like looking at themes and everything?
Yeah.
So like, for instance, What the Force is just an example of a show that I think of that does a really great job of analyzing everything on a more like subcontext level. You know, you're not going to get that if you don't get into like you might not get that kind of point of view if you don't start to explore different podcasts or different voices, especially women in fandom, especially because women always know everything, as Han Solo would say, or they always find the truth. You know, like he's literally saying, like, go listen to their podcast.
I was actually going to bring that up with you, Brad. Is like, I honestly think I've gotten more like analysis sort of stuff in the episodes that you have had like other lady podcasters on or something like that. Like, I just listened to your Girls with Sabers episode, and man, they are so bright, and like the stuff that they're talking about is so analytical and deep. I was just like mind blown. Like, I think it was that episode when you guys were talking about Anakin's, I think you asked them, I don't know if it was them or Sky Talkers, when you asked when do you think Anakin's fall was. I can't remember which episode that was.
With the Girls with Sabers.
Okay, the Girls with Sabers. So I was outside working in my yard when I was listening to that. And you pointed out that the first time you hear the Imperial March in the prequel trilogy is when Anakin like kills all the sand people and stuff. Like you guys were talking about, and you played the little sound clip and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, I've never noticed that. This is the most mind-blowing thing ever. My wife was pulling in the driveway as I'm outside working in the yard. I'm like, Caitlin, get out of the car, you have to listen to this. Like, did you know that the first time you hear the Imperial March is when Anakin kills all those sand people? And she's like, what? It's crazy. Like, it was such a fun moment. And like, that's what this whole community thing is all about, is like, everybody notices something that you didn't notice, and if we don't talk about it, there's no way to learn that. And it's just amazing to me that Star Wars has so many infinite numbers of perspectives, and everyone has something interesting to add.
And it's a global community too. So like, even outside the United States, like we're having Blue Bantha Milk Company on the show tomorrow. The episode's going to be
fantastic.
out. Yeah. So like, the fact that you can talk to other people around the world about Star Wars, they're each going to have a different viewpoint just based on the culture that they live in and the, you know, how their country operates. So, you know, it might not be the same in Australia as it is in the United States or in the Ukraine for Alderaanian Rose. Like, that's a very specific point of view for Rose, because a lot of people there don't know Star Wars. So for her to like see it through the eyes of the kids that she works with, that's, you know, she's learned a lot about Star Wars. So I wanted to bring her on the show and say, hey, like, what is it meant to you and the kids there? Because that's not something I can get, you know, down the road in good old sunny upstate New York, you know?
Right.
So,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, so much of this community is, especially for those of us that, you know, were the primary demographic for years, which is, you know, white dudes in America.
Yeah.
Kind of got it all. Like,
I do fit that demographic. That is correct.
Right. Like, the best thing we can do is sit back and listen to what it means, and we learn so much, and we're so enriched by it. And I think it's so cool for everyone involved. Now, one more quick thing I want to ask before we take our little break here, Brad, because we are, at the end of the day, 27 minutes in, we are a book podcast. At the end of the day, listeners, I know, we're spraying this on you.
Stop pouring Chex Mix on books. They're not bookmarks.
Yeah, this whole meme. You guys seen this meme, Corey Charles, that's been going around?
Yeah.
What? No, what are you talking about?
People are, okay, so there's this meme going around where people say, oh, use a bookmark? Why not try blank? And there's like these pictures of people putting Chex Mix in books and Oreos in books, and because guys,
a gallon of milk inside
fire.
A book. I'm like, what the heck?
Because for the likes and the
gram
or like
Charles, this
dab
is
on
amazing.
them, like, I hate it.
I know,
all of it.
after what we talked about.
Eric, so right before you and Brad popped in here, we were talking about Archex, the character from
Black Spire,
Delilah Dawson's Black Spire, and I couldn't remember his name, and I called him Chex Mix. And I was like,
and then I started joking around and calling him like our Cheerios and just
Stop
any type
putting
of
our
cereal.
Chex Mix in books.
Oh my god,
that's
amazing.
amazing.
And there was one
but
too that
aside
just came
from-
out today, and it was somebody. It was a librarian, and they looked at a returned book, and there was literally a taco inside the middle of the book. I am not even kidding. I'm like,
What is wrong with people?
how
hate
do you
people.
use a
I
taco as
hate
a
people.
bookmark? I was like, what?
like a whole taco or just like a tortilla?
no,
Why
like
do you
the
give
whole
it taco
like
back?
toppings and
Also,
all.
what?
Corey, a tortilla on its own is not acceptable either, to be clear.
Listen, after that scene,
Why are you asking about the filling?
after that scene in Toy Story 3 when Mr. Potato Head was a tortilla, which is, by the way, the absolute best scene in that entire movie, I am convinced that a tortilla could be used for literally anything and or including a bookmark.
Okay, but listeners, don't use tortillas as bookmarks. And you know what? But if for some ungodly reason you do, tweet at us and show us your tortilla bookmarks at Living Force Pod.
Oh, no.
Always gotta get those socials
Strangest tweet request ever.
Yeah.
easily. But Brad, aside from using food as bookmarks for some ungodly reason in this dumpster fire of a world we live in, you and I were talking through DM about some of your favorite books. But I'm going to ask you straight out in public, calling your shot.
Uh-oh.
What are some of your personal favorite Star Wars books? Maybe recently, especially now you've been getting more of this perspective. Have you looked on certain books more favorably? Have you been drawn towards a certain kind of Star Wars book? Like, what's your reading life like?
I think what changed my outlook on Star Wars books was Alphabet Squadron, because I think that book did a really good job of actually.
You guys are the same
I'm
person.
convinced that Eric has planted you and that you guys are literally brothers and that this is all a damned lie and Charles and I are getting the bait and switch. All right.
Guys,
Next,
Will Lark for life.
yeah, I'm just an Eric.
Brad,
I'm
let me
just an
see
Eric
your right
clone.
forearm, because if there's this
an Eric
X-wing tattoo, I'm leaving.
Eric Schill, if you will.
You're an Eric show. So yes, go on
Yeah.
about the beauty of Alphabet Squadron, please, which is on my shelf.
10 out
Let's
of
see,
10.
right above my. There we
Yeah,
go.
I think that book did a really good job of actually developing characters. Not to say that other books haven't, but this one in particular really struck a chord with me because of how slow of a burn it was. Which I don't like the phrase "slow burn," but it's the best way I can describe it. Because this book for me wasn't like, okay, when's it gonna move forward? I never felt that way. I was like, wow, I really like getting invested in these characters, because then the payoff, once we get to book 3 in a couple years, is going to be like really, really satisfying.
Yeah,
So
totally.
I
So
do like
excited.
the approach.
Alphanumeric Squadron.
Yeah,
Which I assume is going to be the next one.
it'll be Alphabet Soup Squadron too. That's the second book actually. Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. It's just them
Perfect.
eating soup for 400 pages and having really good character development. I would still read it, but
I'd read it.
we all?
I would.
I do. I as much as I do love the one-offs, I'm a huge fan of trilogies right now in the Star Wars book universe, especially looking at Delilah Dawson. I'm loving Black Spire so far, and I really almost feel like this is going to be a trilogy for her. Like, she's got Captain Phasma. That story continues in the Black Spire, so it's like, what's going to be her next project? I could really see her releasing a third book at some
That's
point.
genius, man.
So,
I've not even considered
love
that.
that.
Yeah,
idea.
I mean, the fact that she's bringing her characters through these stories, I don't know, like, where we end up at the end of Black Spire, but, you know, there's authors that are starting to prove themselves, and that really excites me. And even somebody like Zoraida Cordova, I know she wants to write a second Crash of Fate, too. Like, that's something that she would like to do. It's just kind of up to Disney if they want to continue those kinds of storylines. And I would be a huge fan of that, to be honest. So,
Could that be a Crash of F9?
F9?
Because the Crash
What?
of
Would
F8.
would that be the
There's a
ninth
Crash
book?
of 9, and then a Crash
What
of
are you
10.
talking about? Are you having a
I
stroke,
lost
Eric?
him.
No, Fate sounds like 8, Corey.
Are you? Did you like do a line of coke like before, a minute ago? Like what? What are you talking about? This is like the
He
Fine.
just did whatever it is that Saw Gerrera does
Where's-
in Rogue One.
yeah.
Eric just starts
All right,
shouting.
so fine. That would
Inhaled.
work.
Boogle it. Boogle it.
So fine, that wouldn't work. But I agree, Brad, for what it's worth. Yeah, no, I think that we're gonna get into a cool place of Star Wars series, because we've talked on this podcast before about how a lot of the people love Legends for its long, super long stories, right? Like the X-Wing series is huge. New Jedi Order, Legacy of the Force, like you get so many books in this long story. And we got Aftermath, and we have the promised Alphabet Squadron series, and like you were saying, I guess the Phasma, Black Spire, sequel-ish thing.
I mean, it's kind
But
of. I don't know. It's pretty sequel-ish, but anyway, continue. Sorry.
Okay, Drew. Sorry, but yeah, I do think that post Rise of Skywalker, we are going to be opened up for, okay, now we can kind of go crazy because
We'll see. I'm still not convinced that they're actually going to do that. I know that's what everybody wants them to do, but
I like it.
I don't know. And I also kind of find it hard to believe that, like, I know we don't do a lot of speculation. I find it hard to believe that Disney is actually done with the Skywalker saga, like that they're not gonna not necessarily continue it with episode, like 10, 11, 12 or anything like that, but like, I mean, there's a lot of things that are still sort of highly related to the Skywalker saga that have not been tidied up yet, like the Thrawn, Ezra stuff. Like, I mean, all that stuff is very inherently tied into this. So I find it hard to believe that we're done with that totally, but I'm with you. I really hope that they open it up, and I'm also totally with you, Brad. Like, that's one of the things we talked about fairly recently on the show. Is like in Legends, we got a lot of really great series and trilogies, and that's kind of missing a little bit from canon. I think some of the, I even hate to use the word controversy, but some of the quote unquote controversy surrounding the Aftermath trilogy kind of made them sort of pull the strings on that a little bit. I really hope that we get some more trilogy stuff, and if the Alphabet Squadron trilogy is as successful as I'm hoping it is, then I think we will get more continuous stories, a book released every year the way that they did films.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to give some love to the standalone books, I mean, the ones that have come out this year, like Master and Apprentice and Queen's Shadow and Crash of Fate, like those are all incredible books. So I just personally find a lot of potential in more trilogy-esque series, but I'll take both gladly.
Yeah.
I will not turn down a new Star Wars book ever, honestly. Because I'm a shill.
Yeah.
I mindlessly
you're in the
love
right
all
place.
of the books, guys. So
That's why we're here.
just literally plug the Star Wars cord into the back of my head, and I'll just sit there with the eyes going.
Shoot it into my veins. Just inject it directly.
All right, well, on that, we have a couple doses of Star Wars heroin that are coming your way later this year. Before we take our break here, Brad, do you have one that you're particularly most excited for? Are you all about Force Collector? Do you want some Resistance Reborn? Or you want that Knights of Ren comic? Like, what are you kind of just waiting for the release
Resistance
date?
Reborn. The Sarah Haas, who's a good friend of the show and / frequent co-host, she brought to my attention today there's no advanced reader copies going out for Resistance Reborn, which I was like, that's interesting. Okay. And to me, that just indicates this book's going to melt our faces off, because there's going to be some really good Rise of Skywalker connections, and there's going to be a lot with Rey, I'm assuming. I think she's on the cover of the book.
Yep. I mean, all the main folks are, and I'm.
It's the first time that's been done, by the way.
Yeah. Rey being on the cover, or no advanced reader copies?
We've not seen. Well, they do that occasionally. They did it with Thrawn too.
Yeah, Thrawn. I'll say Thrawn Treason didn't have, because for us getting the books early, we got Thrawn Treason like
3 days
before
like
release.
something
like
super short, like way too short to do a real review on. But
Yeah.
I mean that they've never done any main character mainline stuff. Like that hasn't been done yet. And I think the fact that all of us are begging for it so hardcore makes the possibility of them doing more stuff related to the main folks like real, like after episode 9.
And
I hope so.
I wonder if even Project Luminous, like, what if that has to do with
That's
the
a
sequel
good
trilogy
question.
characters, because maybe that's why they've had to keep their lips shut on it.
Yes.
So
yes. Okay, really quick I don't know we've ever talked about Project Luminous on the show, guys, but like
not at length.
Really quick, here's a quick 30-second recap. Like, for anybody that's not heard of Project Luminous or has heard us talk about it, not know what it is, there's some big secret project that they announced at Celebration. Disney, Lucasfilm Press, and Del Rey announced like they're doing something like with a whole bunch of really big sort of like superstars, as we like to say on the show, authors. Claudia Gray's on it, Kevin Scott's on it,
Charles Soule is on it.
Right.
Daniel Jose Older, I think, is on it.
Yes.
Justina
Ireland. Yeah.
Ireland
is on it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of really big names working on it, and it's been like 6 months, and we still don't know diddly squat about quote unquote Project Luminous. Like,
yeah. And when we had Kevin Scott on the show, we asked him about it, and he actually revealed absolutely nothing.
Yes, shocker. I mean, he like told us that like in the first sentence as soon as he got on the call. He's like, I can't tell you anything about Project Luminous. So it's some big secret.
You're like, dang
some
it.
big secret. Exactly. Oh, we knew that. We didn't have
Yeah.
anything prepared to ask him
Yeah.
about it. But like there's something big is going on, and like I don't know if this is going to be a series of books, if it's going to be. I mean, we have comic artists involved. Like it's nuts. So we have no idea what it is. It's some big marketing thing that's going to happen probably around the Rise of Skywalker. Like. I just don't know. I can't believe that they announced the name of the project and then haven't said literally anything. But they flew all the authors. Kevin Scott said they flew all the authors out to Skywalker Ranch, put them in a room together, and had them work
Oh
on
my
stuff,
god!
which is
I want to
like
be a
never
fly on
been
the wall
done.
in that room so badly.
I
Yes,
know, really. Imagine.
never been
I want the
done.
video of that. Like, make that a reality series on Disney Plus. Like, give me the
Right.
Disney author retreats.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I also got to give an
Yeah,
honorable
but
mention
guys-
to the Rise of Skywalker novelization. That's also on the docket for me. Pretty.
By whoever is writing it, like that, we still don't have an author, which is
Right.
insane.
yeah, we do. We just don't know what it is yet. I'm sure that like.
Oh, I mean,
it's-
yeah,
Do you think
we don't know
it's-
who it is.
it's-
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, sorry. That's what I meant too. What I meant to say. Do you think that we're gonna get like somebody we already know as an author? I mean, do you think it's gonna be? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
Jason
No idea,
Fry,
honestly.
maybe?
Like, Rebecca Rowanhorse is doing Resistance Reborn, and I just finished her Trail of Lightning. I read her book, which I think it won a Hugo for Best Sci-Fi, and I liked it quite a bit. It wasn't exactly my cup of tea, but I thought like her writing style is really good, and they're really branching out with a lot of different kinds of authors and a lot of different people. So, I mean,
I can't-
anything they're gonna do I can't be surprised anymore because they're doing everything.
Right. I think the fact that they gave main trilogy characters to an author that's never written a Star Wars book before says a lot. Like,
Yep.
I think
They're
this
going
says
quality. They're
right.
going straight up.
I know.
author quality.
I think they're going straight for quality, and I think that we would like to see some more mainline stuff. But
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Well, guys, before we hear about Project Luminous, we are going to probably read Skywalker Saga, Force Collector, Resistance Reborn, play Jedi Fallen Order, and watch The Mandalorian. So life is freaking
Christ.
great, everybody.
Hell yeah, dude.
Good thing-
November will literally kill us.
Good thing Winter's here. I don't have to leave the house anymore. We're fine.
Right. And on that note of extreme just bounty coming our way, we're going to take a quick break. And then, guys, I made up a really dumb game, and we're going to play
Uh-oh.
it. We'll be back in a little bit.
How many times has this happened to you?
I just finished reading Luke Skywalker and the Shadows of Mindor, but what should I read next?
Worry not, Star Wars fans, because Utini is here to save the day.
What's a Utini?
Utini.com is the place to go before you pick up that next Star Wars EU novel. From A-Wings to Zori Bliss, let the team at Utini be your guide to all things EU. Legends to canon, Utini has you covered. Hey there, Padawan. You look like you're a Yoda fan.
I sure am. He's the coolest.
Then use Utini's super search engine to discover novels and comics that feature our short green friend. So visit Utini.com today, because now there's a better way to discover the Star Wars expanded universe. And coming soon, the Utini Bookshelf 3.0.
3.0 is the way to go.
And we are back. We have wrapped up that break. We have double wrapped up that break. And we are here for some more fun on Living Force Podcast.
all right, you dickhead, you're gonna have to start that over again.
No, I don't. What? No, I don't.
No, this is
We are
exactly
going.
what. If we have this as a live show in the future, that's what you
Yep.
will get. You will get inside jokes like that if you stick
On
around during the
Patreon.
break.
All right. But we are back, everybody, for our last little bit of this show, Living Forest with Friends of the Forest podcast host Brad Whipple. And guys, I had a thought this week. I thought, you know what? And I answered, what, self? Because this happened within my own mind. I figured Brad hosts a show called Friends of the Forest. So he knows a lot about friendship.
I have a bad feeling
And we
about
do
this.
book roundtables.
So do
where
I,
we,
Brad,
where
so
we,
do I.
we, we rate books between 1 and 10. We like rating things. So, guys, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to go around the horn, and we are going to rate Star Wars friendships on a 1 to 10 scale.
Oh.
I thought
And-
we were gonna rate each other as friends, and I was very worried that this was gonna be the end of the
Eric
podcast.
was gonna ask us to like rate and review our family and friends. Like,
Guys, how much do you like me? Check yes or no. No, so
gonna be a no.
I have a bunch of pairs here that I've come up with. And I'm feeling really dejected here. I'm not feeling
no
the
for me, dog.
positivity of the fandom.
Yeah, so when I said earlier my
I'm
podcast
gonna
is
go to each
about
of you
bringing
guys.
everybody together, it's everybody but you.
Everyone
That
except
makes
Eric.
so much sense.
Eric,
Even
we
though you've
love
been
you.
on
We love you.
twice.
Let's play your game. Let's play your game.
Okay, guys, we're gonna see how this goes. I didn't even talk about the clip this week.
Thank God.
So I'm gonna go through each of these pairs, rate them 1 to 10. Again, once we set our boundaries, if you give someone a 6 out of 10 and the next person is more, you gotta go higher. So be careful with those numbers. Don't go too far too fast. Okay.
Wait, what? What?
And
what?
if someone gets something.
Ray is
Ray
incensed
is
by
the
this game.
loudest. Oh, fine, she hates
She
that.
is the loudest dog ever. I'm so
Wait,
sorry.
re-explain that we can't go higher or we
So
can't
I'm
go
saying,
lower.
don't give someone like a 10 out of 10 too quick because we don't want to like give all these friendships big numbers. You know what I mean?
So you're only allotted
Okay.
like
Play it a
certain
little close
ratings,
to the chest.
like once.
I mean, I'm not gonna make a hard number on it, but just be aware. You know that like not everyone can be a 10.
I don't
I don't know, let's
understand
be a little
these
honest about
rules.
it.
Are you essentially saying us you just don't want us to give too many people 10s?
Yes, that's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I thought I missed a really crucial rule.
No, very easy. So here, Corey, we'll start with you. You can start us off. Set our bar. 1 to 10 friendship. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Oh,
Their friendship.
Oh,
How
I
would you
see
rate
how
it?
this game's gonna go. Man, honestly, they had a lot of rough patches in Master and Apprentice. Maybe like 7.
I would have gone maybe a 6 even.
Yeah,
think
I would go
7
lower
is
actually.
Pretty decent.
I mean, but you have
Purely
to,
because you
have-
call it a friendship. Like their relationship is one thing as a master and an apprentice, but as a friendship,
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 6.
Okay,
I
that's fair.
would probably go more towards 6.
All right, so 6.5. We'll take that. Charles, Mace, and Yoda.
Those the homies, man. They're a 10. They're hanging
Oh,
out.
Okay.
They're hanging out outside of the council. We don't even know what they were up to. They were
That's
they
true.
were
I don't
tight,
know.
man.
Listen, I'm gonna take that 10 and wad it up into a little ball and put it in the trash where it belongs. because
Shots
Because-
fired.
listen, in Master and Apprentice specifically, Yoda, and in the Revenge of the Sith novelization, Yoda and Mace are vehemently disagree about a great deal of things.
Okay.
We vehemently disagree about a great deal of things, and I would still give us a very high number on our friendship, Corey.
I'm
So
gonna
put
take
that in your trash can.
friendship and wad it up in a little ball and put it in the trash.
Marvelous.
This is like the opposite of Friends of the Force. This
That's
is
right.
Adversaries.
Welcome to the Thunderdome, Whipple.
I need to make guys. I actually, speaking of like opposite of Friends of the Force, what would you think of an X-rated Friends of the Force called Adversaries of the Force, and it's just on every
Ooh.
night, and it's completely just
Ooh, yep.
just talking trash, swearing,
That's
No
basically
rules.
the behind the scenes of the Utini. That's our Utini Slack team. All right, let's
Yeah.
just
Perfect.
Oh, and it's also just only a roast of Eric the whole time.
Brilliant. I love that idea. Brad, you're next.
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
I'm gonna give you a softball because
right.
you're the guest. Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Oh,
don't forget to take into account that Obi-Wan cut off all of his limbs.
that's what I was just thinking.
That's true.
But also don't forget to take into account that he says, "You were my brother, Anakin. I
yeah.
loved you."
Wait, I thought there wasn't any love in Star Wars. I thought that wasn't a thing.
Only in certain Twitter.
There's love.
Only, yeah.
I would say I would have to give it. I would give it like an 8.5 because there's obviously a lot
Okay,
of.
is the half for half of Anakin's
Yeah,
land?
that's where I was
That are
gonna
no
go
longer on
with
his
that.
body? Got it.
And the fact that Anakin's pretty jealous of Obi-Wan a lot, or he thinks Obi-Wan's jealous of him, that sort of thing. So they're brothers.
Okay, I
but,
like that, I like that.
I wouldn't rate my family members a 10 out of 10 just because they're brother, sister, yada yada yada. But yeah,
There are no Mace and Yoda, as it were.
yeah.
All right. Corey, Padme and Anakin.
Padme and Anakin. Listen, my wife is a therapist, and Padme and Anakin have a trash relationship. All right, absolutely,
no!
absolutely trash. They just break all the rules
Oh,
of having a healthy
no!
relationship. All right, I'm giving them like a 4. All right, they're like,
Oh, Wow.
Yes, they just like
he kind of murdered her a little bit.
no, yeah, he
so-
totally did. Like, and just they have no trust in their relationship. They have no honesty. They have no communication whatsoever. Like, Anakin is a jealous sob, man.
Look at that episode of the Clone Wars with Clovis.
Yes, that was so
That
frustrating.
Okay, that's fair.
It was so
That's
frustrating.
fair.
He was a giant tool in that entire arc. All right, so 4,
That was
hard
rough.
4.
I agree. All right, Charles. Darth Maul and his bottom half. How attached are they?
Are we talking about his original half, his spider half?
Yeah, which
or
half?
His biological half.
His
biological
crappy
half of
robot
his body.
half, or the really
gonna
fancy
say-
one that the Mandalorians gave him? Which one are we talking
Yeah.
here?
0 out of 10 because
All
he
right.
left that behind and replaced it with literal trash.
Wait, Eric,
right,
I want to one up you there.
Agreed.
Here's one for you.
Yes, sir.
Darth Maul's
right.
top half and Snoke's bottom half.
Oh,
Ooh, I'm gonna give that like a 5 because
It's a little spicy.
maybe
because it's
like
half.
how it because you get like the dark. Because also in my mind, I'm imagining Darth Maul's like black cloak and then Snoke's like glittery dress. So like it's a weird outfit as well. It kind of clashes. Like his red tattoos with the gold
Yeah.
are kind of weird. But I like
I
it.
ship it.
So Brad, back over to you now. Obi-Wan and Cody.
Oh. I feel like we're approaching Mason Yoda territory again at this point. That's I would have to give it.
Bear in mind, he did give the order to literally shoot him.
That's not his fault though.
Friends don't shoot each
I know.
other.
I'm not saying it is.
Generally,
That's the number one rule. You're right.
I would probably give it like a 9. It's not a perfect relationship, but like the homie is there for
I
you.
agree.
He's got your back, except when he doesn't
Absolutely.
and he shoots you.
That was like I've talked about this before. That's one of my favorite scenes in Revenge of the Sith novelization is because you get inside Cody's head a little bit, and he's like he has no remorse whatsoever. He's just like, man, I always liked Obi-Wan, but it's a shame I gave him his damn lightsaber back just before this. Like,
Yeah,
It's
ill
ruthless.
time.
then he makes the order. Like, it's so ruthless. It's just like, damn, the clones are badasses, man.
Chips ain't nothing to mess with, man. And speaking of that, Corey, go over to you. Anakin and Rex.
Anakin and Rex have an excellent relationship. Like, to the point that Rex was even loyal to Anakin, probably, well, I guess it's not fair to assume that, but I would say that Rex was probably loyal to Anakin even after Order 66. If he, nobody knew that Vader and Anakin were the same person, but
I would
whatever.
agree.
They had a great relationship, and like it's even brought up in the old Clone Wars movie. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about for the TV show, the movie that goes like the hour-long movie or whatever. Like, in Rex's introduction to Ahsoka, he's like, experience matters more than anything to me. He says something like that. And that's because of Anakin. That's why. Like, his free will that he's been able to experience as a clone is because of Anakin. They have a fabulous relationship.
Yep.
Fabulous.
I give that a 10. I'm going to back you up on that. We should all be so lucky to have a friend like Rex.
Yes.
Charles, Anakin and Ahsoka. And you can pick your place in the timeline for this one. I'm going to say Anakin, not Vader. So purely Anakin, Ahsoka.
well, yeah. That's tough, man. But I feel like this is another one of those relationships where I feel like I would have to classify it differently than a friendship per se.
Relationship in general, we could say.
But he, when you see how crestfallen he is when she walks away from the order, I think there's your answer right there.
Yeah.
I couldn't give it any lower than. I couldn't give it any lower than an 8. I think you could convince me to go higher
Agreed.
than that,
Yeah,
but
I'd go
that's
higher.
where I'm at.
I'd go 9 or 10. And by the way, the riff Ahsoka Leaves is the name of the song. If you look it up like on Spotify, the song that's associated with Ahsoka leaving in that entire arc is man, it's a tearjerker, man.
That's a tough one.
yeah.
It's crazy though. Every time you bring up Anakin and anyone, I have to keep in mind that he tried to murder that person at least one time.
All right, it's one of the prequel trilogy. Yoda.
Ooh. See, we don't see a lot of it on screen, but those guys are definitely.
We don't see enough of it. Make Yaddle happen.
They're definitely going out to the club like on a Tuesday night together.
Yes.
And it's like
Imagine
in
it.
like
Just
level.
imagine
It's
it.
like level 12, 15. Like they're down there, and they have like the disguises on. Like they're fully suited up, like mustache, glasses, everything.
Are
there
they on
two
each
kids
other's
in a trench
shoulders?
coat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this might have like this. I don't think this can be
Same thought.
constrained to a 1 to 10 rating. It has to go higher. Like this is over at least like this is like I love you 3000 level.
All
Oh,
right.
that's amazing.
The most epic relationship there could ever be for Yoda and Yaddle. Agreed. We broke the scale already.
What
All
do you
right.
guys think of the name of the
Jumping into
club is
high-
that they go to?
Oh, that Yoda and Yaddle go to? I have a couple ideas, but I know Matt would have to bleep them all out.
I think it's called Day Globa.
Dayglow.
It's like one of those
that
glow
sounds like a
parties.
Yeah.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna
so.
beat Dave
I'm like
Loboff.
speechless right now, Charles. That was like profound.
Maybe that can be the name of our Utini party at Celebration. It's about to get wild.
Day
Day
Globa.
Globa!
That is
Oh my God.
genius.
Write it down. Literally, Corey, can you write that down physically? All right, we're gonna jump now into the OT. Get a couple more close friends here because a lot of us witnessed the OT first. Those guys might have a place a little closer to the heart. Let's see if the ratings kind of prove that. Corey, R2 and 3PO, 1 to 10.
They have a
What do you
great-
think?
They have a pretty great relationship too, because it's
They're
distant.
like an old married couple, right?
Yeah, I would.
Like, I
you know,
really-
this is the OT stuff for me is going to be like this is why we have to have the rule in this game. Like you can't just give everybody a 10 out of 10 because the relationships are really well developed in the original trilogy, whereas in like prequel and sequel, I would argue that there's a little more complexity to the relationships. Right? That's just
Yep,
they use stronger
sure.
storytelling devices. But I don't know, C3 and R2, 8, 9, maybe. Pretty good. I don't know. They did abandon each other in Tatooine like immediately. So
True.
yeah.
7.
Okay, I'd say an 8 because I think that there's definitely some stuff where they could be better. Like R2's a bit chatty and catty to him. 3PO's kind of an asshole now and then. So
Yeah.
I think they have some room to grow.
Yeah.
But again, it all leads to like when R2 comes back at the end of Force Awakens. Like,
Oh yeah.
God, guys, I love that moment so much.
Tearjerker.
Charles, this is episode 4 era, right? Obi-Wan and Luke. So old Ben and Luke. Which
You
is
know,
tough.
I know. Golly. All right, you know what? I'm gonna say an 8 because Obi-Wan literally came back from the dead to keep talking to his buddy. So, I
Hey,
mean,
man,
that's,
you
that's
up?
pretty next level.
Yeah. And to,
Sure.
and to mess with his head and be like, yeah, well, I didn't lie to you because, you know, I just didn't tell you the whole truth. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, Brad needed a title for his podcast series, so I had to come back.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Brad, over to
Yeah.
you, man. Luke and Han.
Oh, this is a tumultuous one.
Yes, especially since there's literally like a 30-year gap where we don't quite know, like, what was Uncle Luke like, you know? And, like, how did that all work out?
I would say this one's probably like a 6. It might improve over time, but it definitely like starts out in like 5 to 6 territory. I think, just because of
Is it possible for Han to have something greater than 5 or 6 with anyone but Chewie?
Oh, yes, I think so. I think that
And maybe
young
Leia?
Han, I think Han and Kira I didn't put those on here. I think Han and Kira had a higher one, and then he went through a period where he couldn't go beyond a 5 or 6. And then I think post Return of the Jedi, or post Empire, honestly.
Right. That's what we're
I
talking
think
about. We're
he gets
talking about
that
OT and later, though. So
That's true. That's true. So
I don't know.
OT Han and Luke, I think
He's pretty jaded, man. I don't know. In the books, he was like that too. Like in the old legend stuff. Like I'm not sure how much of that you guys have read, but like he was pretty like, yeah, Luke is whatever. Like you know how Leia said that Han was Han about it. Like I could see Han saying something like Luke was Luke about it. Like yeah, Luke's out there doing
Yeah.
his mythical crap. Like whatever.
yeah.
mumbo jumbo. Which
Yeah.
which is why when in Force Awakens when he says it's true, all of it,
That's
it
why,
hits
yeah.
so hard.
Yeah, totally.
'cause he probably never told Luke that.
Yeah, that's very true.
Oh, guys, I just got sad again. Okay, moving on from that heartbreak. Corey, here's the biggest softball of the day. Han and Chewie.
Oh, 10 out of 10. Stop,
All right, moving on.
Stop
Charles.
giving me 10 out of 10s.
They had a shower scene together. Come on, it cannot not be a 10.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that doesn't see, like, I mean,
50 Shades of
Yep.
Chewie.
Arguably the strongest relationship in all of Star Wars. Arguably.
Yeah.
I want to say yes, but I'm trying to make sure that there's nothing I think that could rival that. I think the only thing that might be able to rival that is
Rey and
how
her staff.
Obi-Wan is how Obi-Wan feels about Anakin, honestly. I think that
I don't know.
which
Han never chopped off Chewie's arm, so
right, but I think that doesn't negate.
but
Han and
it
Chewie's
wasn't
relationship,
mutual between Obi-Wan and Anakin though.
right, and I think that's the thing. It was for, I don't know. I think you're right though. Han and Chewie are kind of the gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
Charles, Luke, and Leia. How's and I will keep this for clarity's sake. Return of the Jedi. So like they know their siblings.
Yeah.
What was their bond for this? No, not the romantic stuff that is still weirdly in the first two movies.
Right. So I think they are closer than you might think because, I mean, look, they communicate in The Last Jedi, right? Like telepathically or whatever that word would be. And I know that's in the later trilogy, but I will say that they're like a 7. I don't think of them as like fantastically close.
Okay, that's totally fair. All right, Brad, I want one for you. This is going to be kind of a tumultuous one, I think. Han and Leia, OT specifically. I know it changes.
OT,
Han and Leia.
I mean, like on the surface, it's like a 5,
But
like,
deep beneath.
but deep beneath the surface, it's a 9.
Yep. I really like their love story, honestly. Like I think they get a lot of crap nowadays, weirdly, from some people. But I love their love story. I also though love Han and Kira. Like Kira might be my favorite like romantic lead in Star Wars, which is maybe really controversial. But I think Han just
I like it. I mean,
yeah.
I think it makes sense from a in a weird way because like I don't know, Han has such a strange relationship with others. Like there was that time in Solo, and I'm really glad they captured that really well, where he was just really naive and like seeking some kind of relationship with anybody.
Yeah.
And even when he came back, and Kira was like, "Yeah, there's a lot about you, a lot about me that you don't know," and he's like, "Yo, no, we're still together." You know,
Right.
like I like that they did that with him because Han is the way that he is for a reason.
Yeah.
And Solo did a good job with that.
Make Solo 2 happen. Let us never forget. All right, last one for the OT. Corey, I'm skipping a couple. Boba Fett in the Sarlacc pit.
Ooh.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
They cannot live without each other, quite
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah. Have you guys seen the Robot Chicken skit where the
God, yes.
where the what's the guy Max Rebo, I think is his
Yeah.
name.
The blue guy, yeah,
elephant.
The blue elephant.
The blue elephant guy from the
Yep.
Cantina band, okay, where he like comes to the edge of the Sarlacc pit and the guy is down in there and he's like, "Hey man, throw me a rope or something. You gotta help me get out of here." And he's like, "No, man, I got a gig. I gotta get to my gig." It's just like, it's such an excellent clip from Robot Chicken. One of the best ones, I think, in my opinion. And every time I see the scene when Boba Fett flies into the Sarlacc pit, I always think of the "I got a gig" skit.
They did a great job.
Robot Chicken is so good. If
Absolutely.
you guys
It
listening
is.
haven't guys and gals haven't watched these episodes of Robot Chicken, you need to as a Star Wars fan. It's so
I think my
good.
favorite one, if I'm remembering it right, is when Yariel Poof goes to get pizza whenever the temple, like everyone gets killed in the temple. It's something along those lines. And he comes back with the pizza and everyone is gone.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's fantastic. There's a lot
I
of
personally
really-
like the Emperor going up the escalator, and they're like, "Emperor," and he's like, "Stormtrooper, Stormtrooper."
It's 9921. Eat my ass.
This is a plug for the Robot Chicken Star Wars episodes if you haven't seen them.
Living Force,
man.
sponsored by Cartoon Network. I'm just kidding.
Oh my god, if only. All right, last couple things, and then we're gonna get out of here with our Friends of the Force collaboration episode. In case you have skipped to this point for some odd reason, we're here with Brad Whipple. We're gonna get the last few sequel trilogy friendships because I do think that some of the best relationships we've gotten recently happened within the sequel trilogy. So let's bang these out.
I'm ready to ship.
Charles, Poe and BB-8.
Strong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go 9 out of 10, just because they're not on Maciota level,
All
but
right.
they're close.
I love it. All right, Brad, Finn and Poe.
No.
I'm giving you one of these ships, brother.
Romance,
Okay.
the
I'm
bromance
just gonna
of all
like preface
bromances.
this up front. The sequel trilogy is my favorite.
Great.
I pretty much would give every friendship in this trilogy, on at least the Resistance side, a 10 out of 10.
Great. All right.
The character, like especially Poe and Finn.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the chemistry between them two, like that lip bite that Poe does in The Force Awakens, like
That's my
come
jacket.
on.
No, it looks good on you. I'm like, yeah, it does.
You don't do a lip bite with anybody. It
Except
takes a
you're
certain
10%.
Brad
person.
and Eric are the same person
Yeah.
in every way.
And I just watched, somebody posted on Twitter today the deleted scene from The Last Jedi where like Finn and Poe are in the hallway talking to each other, and there's like people walking in between them and stuff. I'm like, that's literally the Han and Leia scene from The Empire Strikes Back. I'm like, they're literally shipping it in the
Wow,
deleted
yeah.
scenes. So that's my 2 cents. They're good. I love
All
them.
about it. Corey, Finn and Rey.
Finn and Rey, they have a strange
do.
relationship. I find myself thinking about their relationship every time I watch Last Jedi now, because they barely knew each other in Force Awakens. And Force Awakens, like watching it, I think about it too in watching Force Awakens. And I think about it more during the scene in Maz's castle, I think, than anything else, because they clearly like express that they care for each other in that scene, but the nature of their relationship is very confusing.
Yeah,
in a lot
because
of ways.
he literally
Like,
says, like, come with me. Like, let's go to the Outer Rim together and just
right.
leave everything.
Right. There are, this is one of the reasons that I think I have trouble really just choosing some. People talk about shipping a lot. I don't know why that word in particular
It's
is
huge.
chosen in Star Wars Twitter. It's a big word that everyone uses. Like, that's one reason I'm not like, I haven't picked a relationship and I'm like, this is the one that I
Right.
want, because there are elements of romantic relationship, I think, between them, but also elements of not that, and I'm very confused about the nature of the relationship between all of the main sequel trilogy characters of Rey and Finn and Poe and Rose now, for that matter.
We'll find
Like,
out in 3 months.
I don't know. Yeah, find out in months. I don't know. I don't think I can give them a number. I abstain. from
Wow,
this answer.
okay. I mean, I'm going to give them probably an 8 or a 9. Again, but that is pending depending on Rise of Skywalker. Charles, we're going to skip a couple. I'm going to give you, what do I want from you? Oh, Poe and Leia. Poe and Leia for
that is a good
Charles.
Leia is like a surrogate mother and general to him. It's like such a multi-layered relationship that's so difficult to put a number on as well. I was not expecting this game to turn into this, man.
Me
But I
either.
take these, like, it's fun. It's like it starts out as like a fun thing, but then it really does make you think. Like, these characters that we know pretty well, you know, we've all rewatched these things, but what do their relationships actually mean? Because you're right, Poe sees Leia as a surrogate mother figure. He sees her as a general, as a person that is guiding him, a mentor. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Slap,
but
you're
interestingly,
demoted.
so great. Have you guys all heard about
But
the behind the scenes about that
interestingly-
scene? So I think
No.
it's on the director and the Jedi. They talk about it that it was Oscar Isaac's first day on The Last Jedi. He got slapped by Carrie Fisher like 25 times. Like, they just did that take.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
much.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard that. I have heard that.
Anyway, Charles.
Yeah, but I think what makes it a true friendship and not just like a general mother figure type thing is what happens at the end of The Last Jedi when Leia's like, "What are y'all looking at me for? Like, you know, Poe, lead us out of here."
Yeah.
Essentially, when they're going through the caves. So I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it's a very strong friendship.
Love that. And yeah, no, totally. She has seen him. It's very parental. It's like, I have seen you kind of rise to this level of maturity and authority that I maybe never saw in my own son. So she kind of gets to see Poe assume that role. I think that's really beautiful. All right, we're going to bring us home with this last round. Brad,
Oh no. I
we
know
give
what
you
it
a
is.
tough one, buddy. Finn and Rose.
Oh. Ooh. Okay, I thought you were totally gonna go Ray and Kylo.
Nope.
Hard one.
Finn and Rose. I mean, I have to say, like, that's one of the most fun friendships that come out of the sequel trilogy.
Absolutely.
Just because of like how they meet and like what they go through together.
Yeah. How'd you
And
two
I
know?
don't. Yeah, I don't think like her kissing him at all was like rushed or anything. Like, I mean, they're in
agree.
times of war, you know, like you
Yeah.
grow really close to people when you're sharing, you know, similar trauma and you like don't know if you're going to live past tomorrow. And that's even kind of what we see in like Alphabet Squadron a little bit with a lot of those relationships. But I would rate them, I don't know, that one's pretty high for me. I would say I would probably give it like an 8.
Yeah,
I would
give it
say,
8 or 9. I mean, he literally
yeah.
pulls her like on a little like sled across Crate as lasers are flying everywhere
Yeah.
to like keep her
Yeah.
safe. So I think that yeah.
The only reason I
I'm
have
with
a
you.
docket points is because she probably is so annoyed at how dumb he is sometimes.
Then calls
Like,
him a
just
dummy.
stop
Yeah.
being an idiot.
Yes.
Like,
Always
we're fighting
there.
what we hate. We need to save what we love. Come on.
That's simple. All right, last 3. Corey, Ray, and Luke.
Man, just I have trouble like putting like an objective number
It's
on these
weird.
relationships for the sequel trilogy because like they're just so complex and we just don't know yet because we haven't seen the last one. Like we don't know the beginning to end, so it's hard to say.
You guys haven't seen the last one.
We're not. Oh my god, the biggest scoop of the night. Friends of the Force has the DVD.
It's on my. I've been watching it this whole time.
Remember earlier when we were talking about our hypothetical? How much would you pay to have an exclusive? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Brad paid that. I don't know. Who do I have? You said Ray and Luke.
Yeah.
5.
All right,
5. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, they have a complicated relationship. I'm pretty sure that Ray doesn't actually like Luke that much.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that he was like this hero worship thing, and then he didn't quite live up to it. Until, I mean,
Then she kicked his ass and then left, which is great.
it's awesome. It is iconic. All right, Charles, Leia, and Holdo.
Have you read Leia, Princess
Yeah.
of Alderaan? Okay.
See, I was gonna say I haven't read that book, so for me that's really difficult.
It's excellent.
I see them. Yeah, I mean I've heard this. There's just so much coming out right
Yeah,
now.
buddy.
It's no excuse,
So-
Charles. You're fired from the team.
I'm gonna give them a 6, but you can tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah,
A
I'd
6?
probably at about an 8.
From the
I'd
movies.
about an 8.
From the movies, I'd give it a 6. The book,
Okay.
maybe more than that.
Yeah.
They have a weird relationship in the book because they're so young, but
They're formative, you know. It's like that, like formative friendships.
Yeah.
All right, last one to our guest, Mr. Brad Whipple, our last Friends of the Force Living Force podcast collaboration rating, Ray and Kylo.
Oh my God. You did it.
I did it!
Um.
I have pulled the lever!
the ship.
please, Brad, tell us all of thine controversial opinions.
I thought it was gonna be Saw and Borgullet.
No, come on, that's a
Where was
15
that?
out of 10.
Or saw in the word lies. 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 Okay. Clearly, there's no chemistry between Ray and Kylo at all. None. So that's the end.
None.
That's the end of the story.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Zero.
the
I give it
audio
a
clip.
0.
We will play to promo this episode.
Yeah, right. You're gonna be like, Friends of the Force is trash. Look at what he says about Ray and Kylo, and then just play that over and over.
Oh my god.
That's the clickbait title.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get attacked by somebody. So I would, I give this a 10.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like at the heart of the sequel trilogy. This is the story. These two characters, and it is like I think it is the most complex relationship I've ever seen in Star Wars, which is why I think I love this trilogy so much, because
Yes.
it's challenging what we think of our characters rather than just being like, this is romance, that's it. It's like it's all
Yeah.
there. They're not outright loving each other yet. I mean, they kind of are though. Still, like
Yeah.
you know, they have the hand touch, they have the Force Skype. You know, she breaks up with him at the end of Last Jedi, which now I look at that as a breakup. She's like, "You're
Yes.
you're sleeping in the doghouse tonight." Closes the Falcon door,
Yeah.
and he's just
And-
there.
and-
He's
and
like with
it's
his
such
dice, and that even leaves him.
And it's fascinating because I when I got out of Last Jedi, I got so not angry, but like I guess annoyed with people that are like, oh, they're so in love because I didn't see it. I'm like, oh, he has been abusing her, and there's like a trauma victim thing.
Same. I did
And then
too. I did too.
I've listened to so many podcasts and read so many things, realizing no, like they're at war with each other. They're literally on opposite sides of a giant conflict, and they're figuring out who they are, and they're learning and evolving. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever happens in the Rise
totally.
of Skywalker, I think that they have set up these characters who are so complex and so much more than
Yeah.
that I'm ready. There's nothing that can happen, I think, in Rise of Skywalker that'll make me be like, nope, done stupid. My thing was better because I think they have set up such complex characters. They will earn whatever conclusion they're writing.
And the interesting thing too is like they release things for a reason. Like, why do you think into the new Disney era, Lost Star was one of the first books to come out?
Yeah,
they were setting
point.
up Rey and Kylo as like a romantic couple from the beginning.
No,
New Dawn was the first one.
Yeah, well, one of the first couple books,
third
like
one did.
they were setting up romance,
early.
like in the Star Wars universe right away, because they're like, "Listen, you're gonna get this in the movies." We didn't know it at the time, possibly, but like now looking back, it makes sense why they set that up the way they did.
Yeah, so I've like just started to get into, like, in the last month, just started to look a little deeper into the whole Reylo thing, and like it's so fascinating to me. Like, this is what I'm talking about when I say that I love trying to see what other people are getting out of Star Wars that I'm not getting out of it, because it's so fascinating looking, like, trying to find evidence of a quote-unquote romantic relationship between Rey and Kylo. It's very fascinating to try to find those details in the films as you watch them. And, like, so, Brad, are you personally sort of a Reylo shipper?
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to see them end up romantically together?
So, yes. I don't know, like, what capacity they'll actually end up being in. I don't know if he'll die or not, or if they'll kind of have the happy ending. But I definitely think it's there. They're in such, like, unique circumstances because they both basically come from nothing. I mean, like, Kylo has obviously, like, Han and Leia, but they weren't there for him in the way that he needed. So he basically doesn't have parents, and he's dealing with his identity. And then you have Rey also dealing with her identity and having no parents. Yeah. So, like, you have these two people on opposite sides of the war, and that's what brings them closer together. And even, like, Rian Johnson, I keep seeing this clip floating around, but he says they're basically two halves of the same protagonist, you know?
Yeah.
So if you look a lot into, like, Reverse Anadala also, like, What the Force, that's a really great exploration of that. Even just, like, other podcasts like Sky Talkers and Scavengers who are doing talking.
Sky Talkers is what I've listened to the most about this.
So
those are
I've listened to a lot of Sky Talkers.
Those are all great. And it's totally cool, you know, if you're out there listening, you don't ship Reylo, that's totally fine. Again, it's just all about respect, and if you don't agree with it, that's cool. Just be nice about it. But I would say, I'm definitely into that camp.
Yeah, I would encourage anyone that is like, no, I don't want to see Reylo and Kylo end up together. I'm fine with that. I'm totally okay with you saying that you don't want to see. Yes, because, like, listen, I mean, if Rey and Kylo do end up having some sort of romantic relationship, I think it's not going to be very obvious, like, superficial love the way that a lot of romance is classically depicted in film. I think it's going to be a complex, you have to think about it kind of thing. Like, kind of like the Finn-Rose complex relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like, what my advice is, like, regardless of if you want that or not, what I'm trying to say is, like, try to appreciate the value of looking for something in the deeper details of these films, because, like, even if you don't want them to end up in a romantic relationship, it's really fun to try to identify the stuff that the people that really do want that are talking about. Like, the way that and I recently heard this on Sky Talkers, they were talking about some of these big, huge details, which everyone knows about if they're in the Reylo community, but I don't know shit about that. So, like, you know, it's I'm like, oh wow, that's really deep. And even though it's like super low level Reylo stuff, like Rey and Kylo looking into each other's eyes in the elevator in Last Jedi, I'm like, whoa, that's really interesting. Like, it's super fun in a fun intellectual experiment to even think about those things, even if that's not something you truly want out of the film.
Yeah. And speaking as, like, as we're wrapping up a podcast that is admittedly about four dudes talking about Star Wars, like, I think we're all basically saying the same thing. Listen to women and what they think, because I think a lot of us don't do that as often as we should, and there's so many amazing points of view that a lot of women in this community have that I've never thought about, and that I put so much work and research into, that are so well formed. And I think that once we all get to see Rise of Skywalker, so many things that they say are going to come to fruition or make sense, and then I can't wait to hear all their episodes about it afterwards.
Yeah. And it's super
fun.
Like, it's
fun.
It's just super fun. Like, take all the agenda politics crap out of it, and it's super fun. Like, it's great.
Star Wars is for everybody. You got to listen to everybody's voice and everybody's opinion, except the haters. But that's that.
It is.
Give everybody a chance.
Totally.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that's a great kind of message to go out on. We are in the midst of one of our longer episodes, which is so worth it because, Brad, dude, this was a blast having you on this show. Like,
Yeah,
I
thank
knew
you.
you were going to be a great time. I knew you were going to fit right in, and we had an absolute blast with you. I want to give you a second now. Take the floor. Where can people find you on all the social medias? Where can they find the podcast? What do you got coming up? The floor is yours, my friend.
So you can find the podcast at Friends of Force on Twitter and Friends of the Force on Instagram, and me at Brad Whipple. I usually just tweet about mom, spaghetti, and college football on my personal profile. And the podcast is on Google, Spotify, Apple, so go check them out there. I do have an Anchor page also, so anywhere you find it, you'll find all the episodes, and we have a website that you can go off of on the Twitter page. So check out the website. It's pretty cool. It has a list of all of our guests that we've had on. Speaking of guests coming up, so tomorrow on the main show, I guess Monday, whenever this episode goes up.
Yes, this is going to come out on Thursday, so this is in your feed right now.
Gotcha, yeah. So this is in your feed right now. Monday's episode was with Blue Bantha Milk Company, Matt and Sean. I talked to them about the Jedi and the Sith. And Thursday, the day that this Living Force episode comes out, you can go over and listen to my interview with Zoraida Cordova, who is the author of Crash of Fate. So she was on the episode.
Awesome.
Yeah. So go check her out, and if you haven't read that book, also it's a big one. It's a good one.
Absolutely.
Great one.
Yeah, we just did our review on that one. The
our
breakdown.
big roundtable.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so we're gonna steal Brad's plug as well and go listen to our Crash of Fate roundtable if you didn't check that one out.
Yes.
And then go listen to.
I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
Yeah,
guys.
but then
No,
listen to that
okay.
interview.
You're good. Listen to both of them. Listen to the Living Force and then the interview, and you'll get
at the same time. Like put one in one ear and one in the other, and try not to have a.
Yeah.
Actually, if you play one backwards and the other forwards at the same time, it just says Raylo for 45
Just
minutes.
over and over
It
again.
took us a long time to
Over
figure out
and
how to
over
do
again.
that.
See.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, hey, and if you have any friendships or relationships in Star Wars that you specifically love, we'd love you. Tweet at us at Living Force Pod and at Friends of Force. Tell us some of your favorite relationships in Star Wars. Obviously, we didn't touch on a lot of book people like Thane and Sienna and all those other people. So we'd love to hear who is really giving you your 10 out of 10. Who is at your Mace and Yoda level. My friends, that is going to do it for this week's episode of The Living Force. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts and tune in every single week to hear us at Utini talk about the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Please leave us a review on iTunes to help people find us, and head over to utini.com for reviews, articles, and comprehensive book profiles on every single story in the Star Wars galaxy. If you're looking to buy some books and want to help support the show, look up your book on Utini, click the Amazon link on the profile, and we'll get a few cents to help keep the lights on around here. If you'd like to help us out more directly, you can find us on patreon.com/Utini, where you can join our amazing patrons, Dylan Sasser, Adam Dyson, Timothy Dunlap, Rural Farm Boy, Chris Richmond, Adrian Carlson, Ross Greco, and Terratano. Woo, that list is getting big and I love it. If you want your thoughts on this show, email us at livingforcepod@utini.com, tweet at us at livingforcepod, or join our Utini Discord community by going to utini.com/Discord. You can find us individually on Twitter. I am at Eric Eilerson, Corey is at Doc Star Wars MD, Charles is at C. Henkel. A special thank you, as always, to Matt Davenport, our editor, Freddie, our producer, Wes, our community manager. Thank you to Corey, Charles, and Brad for podcasting with me tonight. And as always, may the Force be with you.
There is no hatred. There is joy. There is no division. There is union. There is no apathy. There is passion. There is no gatekeeping. There is community. This is the Utini Star Wars Fan Code. Embrace it, live by it, and above all, trust in the Living Force. That's all for this week. Join our community and surround yourself with like-minded fans by visiting us online at utini.com. Until next time, may the Force be with you.